Patriot Radio News Hour, Joe and Jason on this Monday. I hope you had a fantastic weekend. I know I did. This is it. This is it, Phoenix. The heat is coming. It looks like starting Wednesday, the streak will be on 102, then 104, then 105. Maybe 106, 107 by this weekend. So get out there, enjoy these last few days. Then we'll see how many days in a row of 100-degree heat we'll string together. My guess probably 100, maybe 120, 130. Who knows? Hopefully not, but maybe 150. But it's been a great spring, and so far I call it the summer. Has been off to a great start, so the weather's been just fantastic. But, like all good things, it must come to an end. But other than that, we got a big week this week, right? We got the Federal Reserve meeting starts tomorrow. We'll find out on Wednesday. Are they going to raise rates? Are they going to pause? Is it going to be a hard pause, or is it going to be a weak hike? We don't know. We get inflation data tomorrow. So that could be a big indicator, because right now everybody's leaning towards pause. Pause, but we could raise rates again later. But it is Monday, so we've got my son Joey with us over there at Northwestern Mutual. And again, remember, the hotter the inflation, the higher the rates go, the less smart it is to have that excess money in the bank. That's why we have Joey joining us. Northwestern Mutual, it's the best of all worlds, because number one, it's not a bank. Number two, it's not publicly traded. They don't give two craps about Wall Street. And, they got all kinds of cash on hand. Stuff that's kind of important that banks probably should have a whole lot more of. But, Joey, happy Monday. Going to be a big week this week.
Yeah, happy Monday. And it's a huge week coming up, depending on this meeting, what they're going to say and what the outcome is. But, yeah, I've seen a huge theme here is everyone's sitting on a lot of cash, withdrawing from the banks, and with these interest rates rising, we've got to utilize these dollars and making sure we're diversifying ourselves and putting them in the right bucket. I mean, at the end of the day, we want our money to work harder than us. We want to make sure we're not losing our purchasing power. We're not losing money to inflation. But also, as the market recovers, we don't want to miss out on those gains that will greatly help us out for planning for retirement. So everyone listening, I urge you, if you're sitting on a lot of cash and you don't know what to do with it, or you don't have anyone to trust, have a conversation with my team and I. Let us walk you through our process, our philosophy around planning, how we get things done. And if you agree with our philosophy and outlook on things, we would love to work together and be that relationship, and honestly someone who's chatting with you at least twice a year that you can rely on and know that in the background we're making sure we're updating everything while you go to work every day and take care of your family and whatever personal matters it is. And just be that person, that's not just your financial planner, but someone you can talk to when big things happen in life and things change, because we want to make sure we're a part of our clients in their lives, because it goes beyond just financial planning. We really want to see how we're impacting each and every one of our clients day in and day out.
Well, this is a much different market. People, it's funny because there's a lot of investments now where, like you said, hey, you can start putting this money to work that for the last 15, almost 20 years really weren't options because the Fed had rates at zero. So now all of a sudden, Joey, there's a lot of things that are not that risky, but are starting to get those good rates of return, and that's why it's so important to have that financial planner making sure, hey, let's get in these buckets, because you know what? These buckets all of a sudden now are really, really attractive that haven't been attractive for the better part of 2 decades.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's changing so fast, the environment, that it's hard for people to stay on top of it and educate themselves, everything they've got going on in their life. And these vehicles you're mentioning, yeah, they're probably generating fantastic returns for 6 months or until interest rates decline, right? So we want to make sure, one, we're utilizing those and we're taking those gains on for people. But two, when the environment does change again, we need to make sure we're reallocating to these different vehicles as we continue to move on. And that's why I tell people, listen, we don't meet 4 or 5 times. We make a plan and then it's over, because this plan is so flexible and it's going to constantly change, depending, one, on the market, what's going on with the Federal Reserve, but two, what's important to you? What's changed in your life? Your goals will change. Your financial income changes, right? We want to make sure that we're targeting and helping you achieve what it is you're trying to achieve with your dollars. And I don't think there's a better company to partner with, but also a better team to partner with, right? You guys can't see me. You can just hear my voice, but, dude, I'm 5'10". I've got a 2-inch vertical. I'm no athletic specimen. Played some college football. And I got there by working harder than other people and working harder than the next guy that might be more talented. Our team's philosophy is that nobody will outwork us in terms of education, communication, transparency. That's someone you want to partner with. I urge you to reach out to Mike and I and start that conversation.
We'll be back with more right after this. Stay with us. (800-951-0592). Joe and Jason here on this Monday. We've got my son Joey with us and talking about, hey, what do I do with the rest of my money, right? Who do I turn to? Who's going to not only give you great advice, but he's going to outwork everybody else out there. And this is a time, and again, this is a new time now. We went 15 years essentially with interest rates at zero. That now we're talking about how high are they going to go, higher for longer. But you heard Joey say something really, really important. This is why when he talks about, hey, no one's going to outwork our team over there. Hey, we got all these new opportunities that haven't been available to people for years. We need to take advantage of that. But then he says, hey, by the way, we also need to be ready, right, for when those things change again, and then Joey changing with it, because that's really how you take advantage of these things. You have to change as the market changes, and too many of these planners out there, and I get it, right? Hey, rates were zero for 15 years. We can all be super aggressive. The Fed's printing like crazy. Now we've got rates rising. The money supply is dwindling. You have to have different strategies in place.
We need to make sure we are implementing different strategies. And, people hate change, right? Planners, they've had 15 years straight of not having to create much change. And as people further into their career, they get more successful, they get a little lazy. They don't take a careful look at everything. They don't spend as much time looking at other people's cases and where they should be and how they can add more value. And that's where we're doing things differently. We're looking at new strategies. We're really taking a look at what would we do if we were in our client's shoes. What's the plan that we would put in place based upon their goals and what they want to achieve? Right? A lot of these advisors, they ask you, how much money do you have under asset? And if you meet their threshold, they'll work with you and they'll put you into their company's account and they'll call it a day. Whereas we're trying to create and find the best strategy, not to grow your dollars only, but to also be more tax efficient. Make sure we've got dollars off this roller coaster of a market, and we're diversifying and hedging against the investments we're implementing. Taking a look at our family. Are we the primary sole breadwinner of the family? Do we have kids? Do we have the right insurance in place to make sure my family can continue to living the life they deserve if I were to pass away? Are we making sure that with these interest rates, when we're buying new houses, that we're tackling it the right way? We're saving up for the correct down payment. Are we spending down and paying off our debts correctly? Are we utilizing all sorts of different vehicles and taking a really careful eye to everything that is financial? My business doesn't just stop at the investment side. We're connecting clients to realtors, to CPAs, to attorneys, lawyers, making sure we're getting the legal planning in place, estate planning in place. All of that is something we're concerned with. It might not get us paid, but if we can put you in a better position security-wise financially and really put that work up front for everyone we talk to, we're going to make sure we work together for 20-plus years and have that relationship and be that person when you do reach retirement that has a plan to spend down your wealth. That is the biggest mistake we're seeing today with clients coming over to us is there's no plan to spend down your money in retirement, and there's no plan to do it tax efficiently. You know why? Because the dollars you've invested aren't growing in tax efficient buckets. We want to make sure we take a careful look at that, as I know plenty of listeners on KHNC here are in pre-retirement, going to retire in 10 years, 5 years, whatever it may be. I want to make sure that all of you have a plan in place to tackle that. It's one of the hardest things to do when it comes to building out your financial plan, is projecting how to do this most tax efficiently, but most importantly, spend our last dollar by the time we pass away, or for some people, leave something behind for our kids and our grandkids so that they can get a head start in their own life, in their own financial planning. I can tell you right now, we're working with... Go ahead.
I didn't mean to interrupt you there, Joey, but you brought up something really important. Listen, the deficits are skyrocketing again. Right now we're talking about deficits that are going to be approaching $3 trillion a year. We know, right, tax increases, they have to be right around the corner. We're looking at entitlement spending, Social Security, and Medicare, Medicaid, interest on the debt now becoming a huge, huge problem. We got to believe that more tax increases are on their way. 87,000 more IRS agents. This is something that has to be done. This has got to be a priority for people.
It needs to be, and taxes are going to go up. If you check the tax income brackets today, we are in a historically low tax environment. Next year, those are going to go up. They're going to increase those. We are in so much debt. And I talk to people like, I have Social Security coming in. If you're relying on Social Security, you haven't done a very good job of planning for your future. Who knows what it's going to be 15, 10, 20 years from now? The government just can't afford it. People are retiring at 62. They're supposed to pass away at 65, and that is not the case anymore. People are living in their 80s, 90s, some people into their hundreds. I can't emphasize how important it is to have someone in your corner as you're entering this stage of life, because it is a hard time to plan for, and it's very stressful. Take some of that stress off of your back and work with someone who wants to work their butt off for you and give you that proper education that you don't have time to do yourself. Make sure your family's taken care of. Let's get things done. Let's sit down. I'll introduce myself. I'll learn more about you, introduce our financial planning philosophy, and give you the expectations on how it is we work with our clients. But it all stems from having a conversation and getting to know one another. You can reach me at my personal cell phone, which is 602-909-9048. Again, that's 602-909-9048. Reach out to me if you want to get a plan in place and you want to get the ball rolling, or at the very least, a second look at all the good things you have already done, and we'll give you recommendations on what we can do to add on to what you've already implemented to be a resource for you in whatever way it is that you see fit.
There you have it. That's Joey. He's with us every Monday. Thanks for being with us again and sharing your knowledge, your expertise with everybody. And again, I can't emphasize enough how important having these plans in place and trying to listen. You got to give the least amount of money possible to Uncle Sam in a legal way. We know they're beefing up the IRS. We know why they're beefing up the IRS, right? They got to get all this money. Taxes historically low. That's getting ready to change. Reach out to Joey, 602-909-9048, and we'll talk to Joey again next week as we do pretty much all throughout the year on Mondays. Joey, thanks for being with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I greatly appreciate it. And happy Monday to everyone. Let's have a fantastic week.
There you have it. That's Joey over at Northwestern Mutual. Jason, tomorrow the CPI data comes out over the weekend. The government, if you did a rolling 12-month average, the deficits are now well over $2 trillion a year. The problem is, the Treasury's still on the ramp-up cycle. There's a really disastrous outcome potentially here as inflation keeps roaring. Tomorrow's number is going to be big, right? If they get a higher number, man, a pause is going to be hard to do. If they get that lower number, which I think most people think it's going to be a little lower, then maybe they've got room for this quote-unquote pause.
The way I see it, Joe.
There you go.
There you go. 4.6 or lower. That's what I see. It was 4.9 last month. The previous year, it went up 0.3%. Last month, you look at last year's numbers, it was the one time that it didn't go up in 2022. It went down 0.2. So, the CPI should have really dived down a little further, and it didn't. So I think that got people worried. So it went up 0.3%. You would have to at least, if it doesn't go to at least 3% or more, they won't pause. So if it's, let's say it's 4.9, which is what last month's was, I think they'll raise the rates. But if it's 4.6 or lower, I'm sure it's on the table to pause. We'll see, and then it'll be a couple of months from now. We'll see that's when the 2022 numbers from last year started going down. The back half of last year, if the CPI doesn't start staying down and going way down at that point, that's when a pause just stays a pause and it just kind of sits there, right, Joe? And it just never goes away. And we'll see with inflation, Joe, because the government's getting ready to load it up and spend it again.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. So you think 4.6 is that kind of where you think this number's going to shake out tomorrow?
Well, no, I 4.6 or lower, and I think they can or they'll feel comfortable pausing. If it's higher than 4.6, I think they raise it. That's kind of what I see. That's the thing I look at.
I think it's going to be lower, and I think that's all they need. That's just my opinion.
That's all they
think
need.
Even if it, right. If it's it was 4.9, even if it's 4.8 or 4.7, they could get away with it. But I agree with you. Anything 4.6 or less, and the pause is on. And I know right now that's exactly what Wall Street is expecting. But there's things starting to happen underneath the surface here. We know about commercial real estate. We've talked a lot about commercial real estate. More and more lenders now turning the keys in, and not just to the old properties. Because that kind of we got a 40, 50-year-old office building. Hey, I'm getting rid of that. No, they're starting to turn these prime properties back to the lenders, and again, you look at the two hotels in San Francisco. These were high-end hotels, right? That were getting turned back, but now we're starting to see very quietly foreclosures on homes starting to spike. We're also seeing more and more companies saying, hey, you know what? Maybe it's time. They've been resisting the layoffs. Maybe it's time. And then without a lot of fanfare, the FHA is trying to float a new program to use taxpayer dollars, right, our money, our tax money, to pay for mortgages of delinquent homeowners. And of course, Jason, we haven't heard about homeowner delinquencies. We haven't heard about foreclosures. But the FHA, obviously, they know a lot more than anybody else. But it sure looks like they're preparing for something that a lot of us haven't heard of. In April, home foreclosures jumped 7%. Now, that's a lot in a month. 35,000 Americans unable to make their payments. Homeowners in Florida, California, and Texas were the ones that were hurt the most. I get California. Surprising to see Florida and Texas on the list.
I think Florida is not too surprising, Joe, because a lot of retired people are there, and if their retirement isn't keeping up with the inflation the last 2+ years, then I guess you stop paying the mortgage at some point, right? Might have to find another place to live.
Up 7% month over month. Foreclosures now up 14% year over year. When we get back, I'll tell you about the FHA.